Hello again out there in VIP Kid Land. Happy Memorial Day weekend. For those of you who are watching this live, it's Memorial Day weekend. I'm so excited. I think for the first time in a long time, I get to celebrate with my family and my friends. It's great. Usually I put in big gardens, and so I spend all Memorial Day gardening, but this year I'm going to Thailand, so it's all about the barbecues. But that got me thinking about some questions that people had brought up about my video 2 weeks ago about Confessions of VIP Kid and the drive to work and how that impacts our life, which is how does VIP Kid affect our relationships? And how does it affect our time with family? I've found that as much as I don't like to acknowledge it, VIP Kid has had a pretty profound influence on my personal relationships. And as much as it's difficult for me to manage my time and manage my schedule and make good, healthy choices for myself about how often I work, I found that it's even more difficult for me in my personal relationships, although thank goodness those issues sort themselves out sooner. But the first issue that I think I ran into, and a lot of people run into, is that starting a VIP Kid often can cost some money. You're investing in maybe new equipment, you're investing in the faster internet, maybe you're investing in props. You're putting money into it. And VIP Kid sounds a bit like a pipe dream. I think when you explain it to people at first, I know that my spouse was like, what? You're going to do what with who? And you think you're going to make money? And so now I'm putting money into this sort of pie in the sky, not sure it's going to work thing that is part of my household income. And that was really challenging. How I countered that is I really looked at the people around me I love and I said, okay, let's go into this investment together. We have to be on this together because this is going to require an investment of time, a sacrifice on behalf of everybody in the household, and we need to look at this like an investment. And then the people around me had to live with my extensive learning curve. So all these things I put on about tech, it's because it happened to me. And so working through those technical issues and hollering at people at 3 a.m. because the power went out because they plugged in too many things, or the internet went out, or kicking everybody off the internet because my internet's not stable. It's just having to deal with the learning curve. I think even more than that, what affected my relationships is early on the extraordinary anxiety of getting the teacher IT, or I think the teacher no-shows, literally gave me a panic disorder. I've always been a very calm, chill, level-headed person. Those few months absolutely had me in a panic. Apparently, I don't remember because I was asleep, I taught entire lessons complete with actions in my sleep for a couple months. I woke up sort of in panic attack mode several times. I think it had a big negative influence on the sleep of my spouse. You know, how do you sleep when someone's getting up at 3 a.m? How do you sleep when not only are they getting up at 3 a.m, they're teaching all night long, and that anxiety level can't help but come out on other people. And there's a lot of changes that happen in your household. All of a sudden, this used to be home, and now it's work, and everybody has to adapt to what does that feel like? What does that feel like to change this to another environment? How can we adapt? You have schedule changes. All of a sudden, you're too tired, and you're going out on a date, you're going out with kids, you're going to the ball game, you're exhausted. I know that my student that I just adore, I teach in private every day, he's paid a little bit of a price because by the time I'm teaching him, I've taught kids for like 8 hours already, and my patience was less. I had a difficult time remembering things. It was challenging for my family to learn that I work, that I'm not just hanging out in my room playing games, that this is work, and really kind of change their life around it. So when we work at VIP Kid, if you have a family, if you have kids, if you have a spouse, if you're doing other obligations, everybody around you is also in some part working for VIP Kid. And how do we handle that? I know for me that's caused a lot of self-reflection. It's caused a lot of time for me to sit back and go, okay, how can I minimize damage? There's a couple things that have worked for me. One, I just had to chill out. If for no other reason, then the rest of my family deserved to not have to live through my anxiety over it. I just had to let go a little bit. And that's one thing I say a lot about the teacher ITs and the things that we get so upset about, especially at first, is to a certain extent you have to let go. Number 2, I set boundaries, clear boundaries. I made sure that people know when I am at work, I'm at work. It's no different than if I was to go to an office. And it took a while to train myself, but it took a while to train my family. Okay, you can't interrupt me in my stream. You can't Skype me. You can't, want a quick run in and ask me a question. You really have to set boundaries, and you have to continually let people know, look, this is work. We can't be doing this. I know convincing my family that if I can hear them, my student can hear them was a big deal. I finally got it through, because they'd holler throughout the house or do this or that or get mad at each other. And I'm like, look, if I can hear you, they can hear you. And I even pulled up a recording so they could hear that they can hear you yelling at the dog. In fact, you can hear my dog right now. But I really had to expect and set good boundaries and say, this is how we have to adapt as a family, because this is going to provide further stability. Another thing I had to do is actually set a bedtime. My bedtime is 9 o'clock. And so I tell everybody, my bedtime's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. So when my friends ask me, Chris, do you want to go for drinks? Do you want to go out for dinner? Do you want to go out? I'll say my bedtime's 9 o'clock. That was different than saying I'm too tired or going and being too tired. My friends, God love them, have really adapted to that. They know. Like, they'll call me up and be like, you want to go? Oh, yeah, that's your bedtime. And so they'll adjust those changes without me having to constantly say no or constantly be put in that situation. And it's really, for me, I think the biggest focus this has been on making sure that we're in this together and continually reinforcing that with the people that I love. We're in this together. This is a lifestyle that we're choosing, and we make some choices together. Like I said, my spouse said absolutely not to working too much when I was healing, things like that. That's what's been helpful for me. That's what's keeping my relationships more stable. But it's an ongoing negotiation, and it's an ongoing balance. I'm interested in what's working for you and what's not working for you. Okay, have an awesome Memorial Day. If you like my video, hit like, subscribe. See you tomorrow.